everyone. So today in our video we're going to make corn chowder soup with homemade breadsticks and oatmeal chocolate peanut butter squares. Okay, so to start we're going to pour I already got everything out for us. I'm going to pour 1 cup of warm water. And then it calls for 1 tablespoon of dry yeast. We're only 1 times the recipe today. I'm going to add the sugar just so it dissolves in the mixture while it's proofing here. About 1/4 cup of sugar. I'm going to do the same with the salt. It's about 1 teaspoon. And then I'm just going to mix that up. I'm going to use my Danish dough whisk here. I'll have it linked in the description box. And then we're just going to let this sit for about 5 minutes. Okay, so now I'm just going to add about 2 tablespoons of butter. It needs to be softened butter. And put it in the mixture here. This is roughly. Just going to mix that around a little bit. Might not melt right away, so I'm just going to chop it into little pieces so it blends into the dough better. Okay. Now I'm going to add 1 egg. We're going to mix that up with the dough hook here. Okay, and now we can slowly start adding our flour. So for this recipe, it calls for, let me see here, 3 1/4 cups of flour. This is a 1 cup measure, so I'm going to do 1 cup at a time here. I've actually never made this recipe, so we're making it together for the first time. I'm sure it's like most bread recipes. And add another one. Just mix that in. I should probably get my apron on, so I don't get my dress all dirty. Let's see here. I love these aprons. I got it from Stokes, and it actually has really long adjustable straps. It's awesome. Okay. So the dough looks like this right now. I'm going to add another cup. We'll add the whole thing. I'm going to start mixing it with my hands. Okay, we're going to pour this out on the counter. Trying to get all the flour out, make sure I got everything. And then we're just going to slowly start kneading the dough in. I might need to add another 1/4 cup of flour here, we'll see. I like to start with less because you can always add more. Yeah, we're going to need a little bit more, it's a little sticky. Now we're just going to knead it for a bit, make the gluten a bit soft. Helps it raise better. little bit more flour. It's a little sticky. We don't want it too dry though, otherwise it won't raise properly. A little bit more. It's starting to stick to the counter here. Okay, I think that might be good. So now I'm just going to wash out the bowl there and put some oil in it and get it ready to start raising. Okay, my bowl's washed. I just got to dry it here. Dry it out a little bit. Now I'm going to add some olive oil in the bowl. Just enough to coat it so that the dough doesn't stick. Like that. Put a little bit on the dough. And I have my oven preheated so that it's nice and warm, and it'll allow this to raise better. So now I'm just going to put a clean tea towel over it. And I'm going to put it on the oven and let it raise. The recipe says it needs to raise for 1.5 hours. So I'm just going to clean up a little bit, and then we'll get started on the chocolate oatmeal bars. Okay, so I'm reading my recipe here, and I need to cook this over the stove. Okay, so now I'm going to turn it on to medium here. We need to add 1 cup of butter. And we melt that in the pot here. And we need about 1/2 cup of brown sugar. And pack that in there. We're melting all this together in the pot. I need roughly 1/2 cup of peanut butter. We're going to eyeball this. Okay, and we're melting all this together. I'm going to add, let's see here, it says 1 teaspoon of vanilla. Just a tiny bit more. We also need to add 1 cup of chocolate chips. So we're also going to eyeball this. That's probably good. And then we're just going to let all this melt down together. Once this is all melted, we're going to add the rolled oats into it and let them cook a bit, combine it all, and then that's literally it. It just goes into the pan. You can add other stuff to it if you want, but it tastes pretty good just like this. Just making sure everything's nice and melted, not burning. I don't want the edges to burn, especially with chocolate, you'll taste it. Okay, now that this looks fairly melted, I'm going to stick in 3 cups of rolled oats. Oop. Like that. Mix it all in. Might need to add a tiny bit more. Well, just a little bit more. And then I'm going to shut the heat off. Mix it all together. Okay, I'm going to cut a piece of parchment paper. Just enough to roughly fit this. You probably could grease the pan too, instead of using parchment. I'm going to go like that, and then I'm going to get the mixture and we're going to pour it in. And we'll just pour it in. Just spread it out and let it cool, and then you just cut it into squares. There we go, just like that. I will be back when the bread is done raising, and then we can get on to the next step. Okay, so I think the dough is raised quite a bit. We're going to form them into the breadsticks. That looks pretty good. Oh, it's nice and warm. I'm going to pull out a baking sheet. And we'll put some parchment paper on this. Okay. Feels really good. Okay. The recipe didn't actually say how many this makes, so we're going to guesstimate. There, we'll try to get 8 out of it. So I am literally just going to roll these into a form that looks like a breadstick. And then once these go on the pan, they need to raise for another 30 minutes, and then they're good. Thinking these might be too big. We'll see. If not, if they are, it's okay. There's also a garlic butter. There's also a garlic butter that we're going to put on top after they're baked. I think these are going to be huge. We'll see. The buns I made in the pulled pork video were way bigger than I expected, so we'll see. Hoping they don't raise too much. There we go. And then I'm just going to put the tea towel over it again and put it on the oven where it's nice and warm again for them to raise for 30 minutes. And then we will bake them. So for now, I'm going to start the soup. So I'm going to prep some of the ingredients for the soup. I already opened some of the cans that I needed. And I'm just going to chop up some potatoes. I like to put a few potatoes into the corn chowder. Makes it a little bit more hearty. I don't know if we're going to need all of these. I just cut them into bite-sized pieces so that they're easier to eat. They also cook faster. Okay, well, let's do the small one too. Okay, I think that's good. Let's get a bowl to put that in. Okay, now we're going to cut and prep the chicken that we need for it. This is the leftover package of chicken from when we made the Greek meal yesterday. So we're going to use the rest of this. So I am just going to dice this into cubes. Bite-sized pieces. There we go. I think that's enough. We'll probably just freeze those. And now we can put the soup together. We're going to start by making a roux, which I need some butter. Get a spoon here. Help if I turn the stove on. Okay. So I'm going to get some butter so we can make a roux. Just let that melt. This is all melted. So now I'm going to stick some flour in. Get my whisk here. And put all of that in. Okay. Get my chicken stock that I made. I like to make the roux with chicken stock first and then add cream into the soup later. It makes it a little healthier, so you don't have to add so much cream. Just get all the lumps out. I try not to pour too much in at once, otherwise it doesn't thicken properly. Like that. Add a little bit more. It's starting to thicken again, so we'll add some more. Add the rest of that. I'll let that thicken for a minute, and I'm going to get some heavy cream. We're a little bit in. I try not to do too much at once. Okay, So we're going to let that thicken a little bit, but in the meantime, I'm going to stick in some cream corn. I'm going to stick in 2 cans of that. Sometimes I add 3, just depends. Mix that around. Oh yeah, it's getting thicker again. Okay, and then I have canned carrots here. I'm going to put those in. I'm going to drain a little bit of the juice, and then I'll pour that in. Okay. I'm going to put the potatoes in. I have some peppers that I chopped up. I keep them in the freezer. It's more convenient that way. A couple handfuls of those. I do the same thing with onions. A couple handfuls of that. A little bit more. Okay. I'm going to give that a little stir. I'm going to add in a little bit of garlic. That's good. Then I'm going to add the chicken. I add the chicken in raw. You can cook it ahead of time if you want, but I prefer it raw because it makes it nice and tender with the creaminess from the soup. It cooks in all the flavors of the soup. Add a little bit of salt, whole bunch of pepper. I'm only adding a little bit of salt in case I need to use any chicken bouillon or anything later, which is quite salty. Okay, now at this point I'm going to add a little bit more cream to make it creamier. I think we need more pepper. I'm going to add some garlic plus some of this. Okay, now I'm going to add some frozen kernel corn. Just pull it out of the freezer here. Frozen corn. That should be good. Also, I'm going to add some. I'm also going to add some dehydrated spinach that I grew last year. Put it in the soup. My kids won't know. Okay. Now I'm just going to let this simmer, and then after the chicken is cooked, I'm going to taste it and see if it needs any more seasonings or bouillon. Okay, so I'm going to check the breadsticks. Let's take a look at them. Oh wow, those are really, really big. Okay, so I'm just going to stick them in the oven. These will bake for 18 minutes. I'm just checking on the soup here. That looks delicious. Okay, I'm going to add a little bit of bouillon. It always gives it a little bit more flavor. So I'm going to add some chicken bouillon. Let me get a spoon. This is why we didn't add too much salt earlier, just in case. I usually do end up adding this just because it gives it a little bit more flavor. And the soup looks like it's actually almost done. Okay, so the breadsticks are done. It took only 10 minutes to cook, not 18. If I had left them for 18, it would have been way too long. Just going to add some garlic butter that I made while these were baking. And then I'm going to get Ryan to come and taste test the soup in this. He's dying to taste it. Okay, I'm going to get Ryan to come on over and he can do a taste test. I'm just going to get the soup.
What kind of soup is this?
Corn chowder.
Nice.
Come around this way, darling.
You added spinach this time, eh?
Yeah. I don't usually, but I figured it would be good this time.
Mm.
Okay. Not this one. Give it a taste test. Taste one of the breadsticks. Tell me what you think.
Very colorful. Mmm.
Is it good?
That is actually really good.
Does it have really good flavor?
Yeah, actually, you know what? Surprisingly enough, with the spinach, it adds another. I like the color contrast and everything, but it also adds a little bit more depth.
Well, I added the spinach
flavor.
so that it would give more health benefits. Taste one of the breadsticks.
Well, you know, healthy is not a bad thing. I mean,
Doesn't matter which one.
got these.
They're huge, right?
They're huge. For these, nice and fluffy.
Does it taste okay?
Man, these taste way better.
Taste one. Oh, it's nice and soft.
Mm-hmm. It is. Got like a nice
It's good.
It's almost like very pillowy.
The only thing is I would do different is maybe put some Parmesan cheese on top.
Just a little sprinkle, like you put some fresh Parmesan. Would be awesome.
It's good.
Yeah.
So this is where I'm going to end the video today. I hope you enjoyed it and see you next time.